Winter has quickly become my favorite time of year to go camping. However, it introduces a whole new set of challenges that you have to accommodate when planning your camping setup and what gear to bring with you. So as we approach the winter months, I thought this would be a perfect time to talk to you guys about what gear it is that I take with me for camping in the winter. As someone who spends a ridiculous amount of time researching, talking to companies, making reviews for you guys, as well, I have an entire garage full of pretty much anything you could think of. What is it exactly that I bring with me? What are the important pieces of gear that I take with me in my Jeep every time I go out camping in the rain, the cold, the snow, whatever nature can throw at us? In this video, I'm going to show you my most important items that I bring with me to have a great time when I go winter camping. I'm going to cover the following things in this video. We're going to talk about clothing. We're going to talk about gear for around camp. We're going to talk about things like lighting because it gets dark early, especially up here in Canada in the winter months. And I'm going to talk to you about my sleeping setup that I use in my rooftop tent. And yes, I am sitting on a giant couch in my garage. More about that later. While I have access to lots of sponsors and gear provided to me, everything in this video is here by choice. This is stuff that I truly believe in using and bringing with me when I go out camping. Second of all, I'm going to put links down in the description to everything in this video for you guys. It's going to be a massive shopping list of stuff. Some of these are going to be affiliate links. These are links that when you click on, I receive a commission if you make a purchase. None of these links charge you any more money. They are completely no additional cost to you. And sometimes if I have a discount code, I will leave it there next to it. So since this isn't a hiking channel and we go camping with our Jeeps and off-road rigs, I have the luxury of bringing a lot of stuff. And therefore I can make my experience as comfortable as I want. I know not all of you are going to agree with this, and some of you guys like to go be hardcore. That's totally fine. But if I can inspire a few more people to go out in the off season in the winter to go camping, and all it takes is being a little bit more comfortable, then I think that is what I really want to try to do here. So we want to layer in the winter, and I always start with a thermal shirt. These are like hiking, camping shirts. They're made of various material like rayon and spandex and whatever. They are there to wick away moisture from your body and give an extra thermal layer. I generally start by only wearing a undershirt to keep my core warm, but if I'm going out and it's really cold, I will also wear long underwear as well. But I do find that wearing leggings can get a little bit too warm. And I also have something else I'll show you here in a second that helps with keeping your legs warm. So I always try to bring 2 pairs of socks for every day that I'm going out. Whether your socks get wet from water or from sweat, they almost are certainly going to be damp. I only bring wool socks. I 100%, no compromise, wool socks are the only thing that I bring with me. I read an article a few years ago by an ex-Navy SEAL, and he was talking about all the different materials that he tested for socks, and at the end of the day, wool is what he concluded was the best thing to bring. The reason why is that when wool gets wet, which they will, your feet sweat or your boots let water in or snow or something, when wool gets wet, it still stays warm. Now I mentioned I don't wear long underwear often unless it's really, really cold. And I find I don't need to keep my legs that warm because the pants that I bring, you guys, insulated pants are a game changer. And so these feature a mostly nylon shell, which helps repel water. So if snow or raindrops or something like that gets on your pants, they're not waterproof, but they're gonna repel the water from just immediately soaking in like a pair of jeans would. And then the insulating layer on the inside is made from polyester. So it's like I forget what this is. It's like a fuzzy polyester type inner lining. These are ridiculously warm. They're super warm. When I'm going out in the coldest of weather, I'll be wearing these. The next thing I put on over top of my base layer usually is a vest. Now this vest is a heated vest. It comes from a company, I don't know, what is this, Kamimoto? You buy these on Amazon. I think this was about 80, 90 bucks maybe. And I also added a much larger battery pack to it because this is heated. And I have a big, I think this is 20,000 milliamp battery pack, and it plugs into the USB cord in the pocket. You put it in there, and this I can turn on for all evening. When I get to camp and I stop moving, I start slowing down, I need a little bit more warmth. I turn this guy on, and it has heating elements in the chest, back, And if it's really cold, the hood. When things start to slow down in the evening and you stop moving around as much, you tend to cool down quite quickly. You can sit around a much cooler campfire with a heated vest on and be quite comfortable. And it's versatile because I could turn the heat on and off as needed. The next thing I'll put on over top of my vest usually is gonna be a hoodie. I wanna keep the heat from that heated vest inside and close to my body. And if you put it on the outside of a hoodie, you don't get as much heat coming through to it. Now, often you'll see me wearing stylish hoodies from dirtyanddangerous.com. If you want to pick one up for yourself, support the channel, that's great. However, these aren't made from the optimal material for winter camping. So when it starts to get rainy and snowy, I like to switch to something that is going to be a little bit more robust. And that is where this hoodie here comes in. This is from First Light, and this is made 100% from wool. I forget the type of wool here. What, merino wool? Merino? Is that what it is? Is that a type of sheep or something? I don't know a lot about wool, other than, like I said with wool socks, when wool gets wet, it stays warm. And I do find that wool dries fairly quickly around a campfire. So this is one of the few hoodies that I found out there that is 100% wool. It's made from this company called First Light. And this is super comfortable. It's lighter weight than the cotton polyester hoodies that I sell. A couple neat features with this is when you have it on, you can actually snap up the bottom below your chin, and it keeps you really warm around your neck. And this one here has a super deep pocket, so when you put something in the pouch, it doesn't actually fall out because the pouch goes down a few inches. Now, sometimes I won't wear the wool hoodie, or it's really cold and I need another layer, and that's where the Overlander jacket comes in. So I'll usually have this with me, and then I can pull the hood up over top of me, and this has a fake fur lining in it. It's not a real fur lining, but I find this jacket to be really warm. I can do the cuffs up tight to keep stuff out of my sleeves if necessary. I can do it up, and you know, I look pretty good wearing it. At least I think. I don't know what you guys think. Doesn't really matter. It's all about what I think. So let's talk about some of the accessories that I bring. Something that's really important is good footwear. Now, I tend to flip between two different sets of boots that I have in the winter. And funny as it would be, these are from a company called Nordic 8, and they did a sponsorship last year. And I really like the boots, and I was really happy with them after the sponsorship. And I've been wearing these ever since. These are my favorite boots. They're like way cheaper than any of the brand name boots. And I even have like, who are these? Columbias here. These things let water in like crazy. I don't really like, I wear these in the summer because they're low cut, but in the winter, I'm gonna bring either my high cut boots or my full winter boots. Not only are these super warm, but the winter boots, I want something that's gonna allow me to step in slush and puddles and small creeks if I've got to get out of the Jeep and walk to the other side. But these are also fully waterproof all the way up. They're as high as that goes. They won't let water in. And they have really good grip. And I want a high boot for two reasons. One, I want the ankle support because odds are I'm gonna be slipping on sliding on something. But also it helps keep the snow from coming over the top and inside of your boot. So when your pants are over top, they're gonna help keep the snow out, especially when you're running around camp in the snow or running winch lines on your way to the camp because there's too much snow. So there you go. Not everything has to be crazy expensive, big brand name. Company called Nordic 8. They've been awesome. Some of the best boots I've had, and they're like super cheap. Now, the next thing is gonna be headwear. Mrs. 250 made these awesome hats last year. Now this is an all wool Viking hat, super warm, super comfortable. I bring this with me, and I'm actually gonna give away, let's see, we'll give away this one. I'm gonna give away the lime green one here. Leave a comment down below with your favorite must-have item for winter or cold weather camping. I'll pick one comment and get in touch with you. I'll send you this Viking hat. Now, if you don't want a Viking hat, both Sean from the Story Till Now and I agree that this is a acceptable alternative. The trapper hat. This has faux fur on the inside. You can button down this under your chin, keep your whole face warm, keep the top of your head warm. You get the Canadian tuxedo model, obviously, with the red and black. And this is extremely warm, just like the Viking hat, but I can see that not everybody wants Viking horns. Great for sitting around camp. Gets a little hot when you're not at camp and you're running around doing stuff. You generally don't see me wearing gloves when I'm using my Jeep and I'm off-roading because I'm in and out. I keep my hands warm, and I do find that I can warm my hands up because they get wet. And around camp, I don't usually wear gloves. They just get in the way. My hands get wet anyways, and then I can just put them in my pockets. But once I start sitting around, it's really nice to have a set of warm wool gloves. And I like these ones because I can pull back the mitt and use my fingers if I need to. But I generally don't wear gloves that often, but I bring them as I think a must-have in your kit. And then I do bring a set of ski gloves. These are more for when I'm off-roading and I'm out in the snow and maybe moving traction boards around and running winch lines. These are thin slate interiors. They're nice and fuzzy and warm. You can cinch the cuffs down, and they're waterproof. And the last thing is going to be my waterproof layer. I definitely bring a pair of waterproof pants. These don't have any insulation layer. These I think are actually made for snowboarding, and they're great. I don't wear rain pants that often. I tend to be able to keep most of the water off of my legs with the nylon shell from my insulated pants. But if we're out in the real crap and we're sitting in the rain and the snow and stuff like that, I will put a pair of waterproof pants on. I definitely don't want to go out without them. And then I have a rain jacket. Now, I have not gone out and bought a fancy high-end Arc'teryx or North Face or whatever it is company rain jacket you can go research on that's optimized for hiking, whatever. This one I bought at Costco. I'm not even gonna be able to put a link to it because I just picked it up one day. I've been wearing this for about 4 years. Wet skins, smells like campfire. It does an okay job, but if I get absolutely soaked, I do find that it starts to penetrate through the shoulders. And I've been contemplating picking up a jacket from First Light, the company that makes the wool hoodie that I have, because they are primarily focused around hunting and camping. So instead of lightweight and not as durable type stuff that you get at the fancy hiking stores, their stuff is made for someone who is out in the rain and the snow, walking through bushes, getting snagged on sticks and stuff like that. It's durable. It's also quiet because you don't want to scare away whatever it is you're tracking. So I've been contemplating heavily upgrading my jacket because this has gone through a lot of trips, and it's not as waterproof as I'd like to be. I try to stay out of situations where I'm gonna be completely soaking wet. I'm usually in the Jeep and I can stay dry, or I get out, I put this on, stay out of the weather, do something with Jeep, get back in, I take it off and throw it next to me, it dries off, it's not getting completely saturated. Or I'm at camp and we're usually sitting under an awning, or you've seen me with my Overland umbrella, which I'll show you in a second. It's silly, but you'd be surprised how effective and useful an umbrella actually is. So I don't find myself really needing to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a high-end Gore-Tex like jacket when my, $50 or $60 Costco special checks most of the boxes. But it is a weak point that I've been considering upgrading. And then usually I chuck most of that gear in one of these waterproof bags. This one's from Rightline. I've had a few of these. They definitely do a great job at keeping the water out, so I know that my dry gear is always going to be dry. I keep some other stuff in here for summer camping, like mosquito-resistant material hoodies and pants, but I just throw my rain gear in here, and it stays dry. I keep an extra set of socks, I keep an extra set of underwear and some shirts and stuff like that. Just throw it in here, and I know it's always good. I grab this bag, chuck it in the back of the Jeep. I know where it is, and I can access it easily, and I pack it with some accessories. Now, when you're not out camping and off-roading in the snow, if you're like me, you want a place where you can kick back and relax and watch videos about other people off-roading and camping in the snow. This week, I've partnered up with Valencia theater seating, and they have some great options to do just that. I've been trying out their Tuscany executive reclining theater seats. These have been an awesome addition to my man cave. Delivery is simple as they arrive in their individual boxes. A couple of quick minutes and you'll have them unpacked, and you can see just how easy they are to move around with their modular design. They feature a handheld remote so you can make all the adjustments you need. which includes their ability to fully recline, as well as they have a power headrest. The seat cushion is also heated so you don't get chilly watching those winter camping videos. There is an air lumbar support as well as a full massage feature. And if you're afraid of the dark, you can even turn on the built-in LED lighting. The seats are wrapped in a top grain Napa leather and are extremely soft and smooth to a touch. They are also very scratch resistant, so your furry friend can enjoy them too. I will leave some links down in the description below if you want to check out some Valencia home theater seating for yourself, because when you're not out braving the cold and winter camping, you should be at home and be comfortable and watching winter camping videos. Now let's talk about gear that I bring with me for around the campsite or getting to the camp location. And the first thing is actually what I'm sitting in here. This is the Akuma Lazy Bear chair. Now, what I like about this chair is that there is no exposed or open areas anywhere around this chair. So when I'm sitting in front of a campfire, I'm not getting a draft from beside me or from behind me with the wind coming along. Now, this chair is actually heated as well. You can plug it into USB and it has a heating pad where the butt is. I don't really use it. I don't really find that it makes a big difference, to be honest, especially because I'm probably wearing several layers of gear already and I don't really find the heat coming through. Maybe if you want to bring this chair in like warmer weather and you just want to keep your butt warm, it's kind of handy. But what I like is that it has nice thick material and it keeps the wind off of me when I'm sitting around and hanging out at the campfire. The real big downside of this chair is it is quite bulky to pack up. There you go. If you grab it like that, it seems to just collapse. And then it has a nice Velcro strap that you can wrap around the outside. So it's pretty chunky, but it's a great chair. Super comfortable, and it helps keep me warm. Now you're probably gonna say, well, that's not the chair that I always see you sitting in. Yes, that's right. I do have a second chair, which this chair is also from Akuma. The chair you'll generally see me using in camping videos. And I generally bring this one because 9 times out of 10, it's not gonna be super cold and windy. And I bring this one with me in the summer, and this is a very comfortable chair. And as you saw me pulling out of the Jeep, it packs up flat rather than like a big tube. So it is a bit easier to pack up and bring with me on trips. Something else that I find very useful, especially in the rain, is having an awning on your vehicle. This one here is a square awning from Kamik. It comes out about 9 feet or so. I have been using a square, I can get out of the sun here, I can't see. I've been using a square pull-out style awning on the Wrangler for a couple of years, and I really liked how simple it is. And as well, I only really needed something to cover the side of the vehicle. With the Gladiator, I do find that I'm using the tailgate more, especially to cook on rather than bringing a table. I can just cook on it. So I'm gonna be switching the Gladiator's awning to a 270-degree awning here in a few weeks. I'm actually putting my Alu-Cab rooftop tent on here, and we're gonna add the Alu-Cab awning. So if you wanna see that, do make sure you're subscribed for future videos. But back to what I was saying is that I think it's more important on a Gladiator or a truck, whether you've got a Taco or something like that, to have coverage over your tailgate area. So that's where I think the 270-degree awning is gonna be a lot more useful. But on the Wrangler, I found it super helpful just to have an awning that comes out one side and covers next to me where I'm eating and cooking, because I store a lot more of my gear in the back and I pull it out of the back seat. So it's really great to have that coverage. And I find that even though I have a tailgate table on the back, I don't really need an awning. This is locked at the moment because the hatch comes up, and I'll show you my Overland umbrella here in a second, but I put an umbrella mount. So I just put my umbrella here. So that leads me to the next piece of gear, which has become a staple in my winter and fall and spring and pretty much anytime I go out camping gear. And that is a large, I just have a golf umbrella right now. And this is so handy. If I need to jump out of the truck for a few seconds, I just pull my umbrella out rather than get my rain gear out, and I can stand here and talk and go to the other vehicles. If I'm around camp, as long as I don't need to be doing anything with my hands, I can use my umbrella. I don't know, guys, umbrellas have been around forever. They're not overrated, and they can be used for camping. But with this umbrella mount, I just tilt it sideways, put my umbrella handle in there, and now I don't really need an awning over my cooking tailgate area. So we can drop down the tailgate table, and I can stand right here under my umbrella. I now have coverage over my cooking area, and I don't have to be standing in the rain, and I don't have to pull out an awning, and I can quickly move this when I'm ready to move along. Now, some of this other gear for around camp will depend on what else you're bringing to camp. So we're generally off-roading, and in the winter, there's a lot of fallen trees. So I bring a chainsaw. This helps me get to where I want to go for camping, but as well, if I get to camp and there's some fallen wood that we want to use to burn for a campfire, I can bucket up with my saw. Now I use an electric chainsaw. This is a massive area for debate. And so this lets me not have to deal with all the maintenance from a saw that barely ever gets used. Then I take it out in the winter and I use it a few times. So I prefer an electric saw because I know it's always ready to go. I replace the chain usually at the start of the season. And this is a DeWalt 60-volt saw. It'll cut through pretty much anything of the same size bar. I think this is a 16-inch bar. It uses the same batteries as I can with this light that I have here. So these are pretty expensive, but I really like having an electric chainsaw. It's just one less thing to worry about in my kit. Winter camping, you want to take advantage of no fire bans and have great fires. So in addition to a chainsaw, I bring a hatchet and a splitting axe. These are from Gerber Gear. I really like these axes and hatchets. They have a nice cover on them. The black coating on it has stayed on there fairly well. And the neat thing about the Gerber axes is you can actually store some stuff in the handle of the axe. So there's room to put a small Bic lighter and some paracord in here. We have even more room. So we have room for if you want a lighter, and you could put some fire starter in here. Now in the winter, I also bring a shovel. I generally bring a shovel all year round, but it can be important if you've got snow to be able to move snow from around your tires. This one is from Demos, and it's a collapsible aluminum shovel. Any shovel that fits your budget is a good shovel. And look, it has a little bottle opener on it for your beers when you get to camp. Now, lighting is important when you get to camp because wintertime, up here in Canada, it gets dark super early, like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the forest. So I want to have good lighting with me. I bring my trusty DeWalt light. This has gone everywhere with me. It uses the same batteries as my chainsaw, and it will run virtually forever off of one of these batteries. I can tell how much charge is in it by tapping on the battery, and I know that this is always going to be charged up, ready to go. I don't have to worry about some USB charging light not working or whatever. This thing is ridiculously bright. The head tilts sideways. It's got a hook so you can hang it on stuff. This is my go-to light. It's been everywhere, and I really like it. Now, as far as more lighting goes, I have made the determination that I don't need any more scene lighting on the side of my Jeep because we now have this from Devos. So this is the newest, I believe it's the Light Ranger, but we're just gonna call it the lamp post. I've seen other people using these, and I'm super excited to use this more with camping. I've already used it with some summer camping in the evening, but this is a ultra bright light. There's 4 sides to it. You can control it with your phone. You can change the color, so if you don't wanna blow out your night vision, you can change it to red or yellow to reduce how many bugs are attracted to it on a giant tripod. So not only is it a great light, but you can stick it down in the middle of camp and light your entire area, which is why I say you don't really need scene lighting anymore. You just get one of these. When you get to camp, I'm not gonna put this all the way up because it's taller than my garage. Okay, we can go to 9 feet, but I think it actually goes to 10 feet. And this is gonna provide area lighting for your entire campsite, especially if you have maybe 2 of these things. See if you can see that, but see, it goes all the way to the ceiling, and it's got a huge wide base, so it's not gonna fall over in some wind and whatever. And this is a great way to light your entire campsite now, rather than try to put lighting on your truck. I would get one of these. It's pretty compact, and it has a huge runtime. I can't remember what the runtime on this is, but on a charge, it's like, you don't have to really worry about it. But it also has USB-C charging. You can get a solar charger for it, but I don't really see the point of that. I would just plug it into my vehicle and make sure it's charged up. But once it's charged, it's going to be good enough for your entire trip of camping, unless you're going out for like several weeks or something, but you're gonna get quite a few nights out of this off of one charge. And it goes and packs up quite quickly, as you just saw, and it's about less than 3 feet in length. Comes with this cool bag. So that is all I'm running with for lighting now when camping at all. And we use lighting a lot more in the winter because it gets dark so early up here in Canada. Now, a moment ago, I talked about cutting up firewood, bringing an axe, chopping up, having a fire. I mean, one of the best things in the winter and with winter camping is having a large bonfire. There's no fire restrictions. There's no concern about catching stuff on fire, at least around here. And if you can find some wood to chop up, you can have a really nice toasty fire for the night. I would say half of the time I have trouble finding good dry firewood that we can use to make a fire. So there's a couple different strategies that I use when we go out. One, bring a couple bundles of firewood with you. Buy some in advance and bring it with you. This obviously takes up quite a bit of room in your vehicle, and I've had very mixed experiences with how green that wood is. Often people will sell it, you're not really paying attention, and it's not seasoned, and it's really hard to get going anyways. The solution that I use for that are what we call cheater logs. Those are the pre-made logs, you know, pre-packed logs in a package. I actually don't have any. I gotta go get some before we go camping. But you know, they're the ones you put in your fireplace. They've got the wrapping on them. They're soaked in some stuff to help them catch on fire. A couple of those are great for getting a more damp fire going if you're collecting firewood or the firewood that you bought is garbage. But as I said, those are not great solutions, and propane fires are becoming more and more popular, and they're great all year around. Propane fire you can use when there's a fire ban on in a lot of places. If we get up into the alpine and higher areas, it's very unlikely we'll find fallen wood that we can chop up and use to a fire. And I'm just tired of carrying around big bundles of firewood for a couple hours of a fire. So I've started bringing a propane fire pit and a 11-pound propane tank with me. Now this one is the Ignite fire can. It has the lava rocks inside, and so when they heat up, they retain heat and radiate it out. Helps keep you a little bit warmer. There are a lot of propane fire systems out there, which got me thinking, I'm gonna do a propane fire pit showdown. I've actually got 5 different propane fire pits that we're gonna be testing in an upcoming video in a couple of weeks. One of them is this Ignite fire can, and I guarantee you haven't seen some of these propane fire pits in any fire pit showdown video. There's like literally no fire pit showdown videos. I think Brad from Trail Recon did one a couple years ago with some very basic propane fire pits. I've got some ones that are gonna be pretty awesome. And I really wanna see what fire pits put out the most amount of heat. How do they compare to a traditional fire? What's the cost to fire pit ratio of things? What is their burn rate with propane so that you can understand how much to bring? And I think we'll have some interesting results. So there's a good reason to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that one and turn on the notifications. Okay, next up is sleeping setups. Now I'm not gonna talk about tents because I think that is a whole other conversation, and I've done videos on rooftop tents, and I'm working on a video right now on rooftop tent alternatives that I've actually used and some of my thoughts about that, so that'll be coming up shortly on the channel. But I will talk about what I bring into my tent when I'm camping in the winter. Now there are several different things that I need to consider in the winter. One, freezing to death, because we don't want that. But 2, I tend to get a lot more condensation in my tent in the winter. In British Columbia here, it's often very humid and damp, whether it's cold or warmer in the winter, it's raining or not, it gets damp in the tent, and I have to deal with, bird just flew in my garage. I have to deal with condensation. So I found a couple different things that really help with that, but having a good sleep setup that can keep you warm is super important. Now, I'm just unpacking what is the Born Outdoors bed roll. I've been using this to store my sleep setup in. I don't keep my sleeping bag in my tent in the colder months. Very often, I still have some condensation in my tent, and so I'm worried about that moisture getting into my sleep setup. I want my sleep setup super dry when I go to bed. So I take it out, and then I don't have to worry about anything getting wet in my tent. So this Born Outdoors sleep roll has been useful because it means that my sleeping gear is protected when I pull it out of my tent, and it's protected in the back of my truck from water, the elements, rain, whatever, dust. Keeps everything clean and dry, and then I can just chuck it in my tent. If it's raining out, I don't have to worry about moisture getting on my sleep setup while I'm loading it into my tent. And it just unpacks like this. We can roll this back, and my sleeping gear is all inside. So I am a huge believer. Oh, and I actually need something else in here right now. I don't have my full winter setup in here. I need to go dig something else out. But as I was saying, I am a huge believer of down sleeping systems. Once you go down, oh, I'm not going to say that joke. Once you go with a down setup, I think you'll be extremely surprised at how comfortable it is, how warm it is for how thick and heavy this is. This is not heavy at all, it's super light, but it blows my mind at just how warm this is in the winter. It's actually fairly modulating in your temperature. I use this all year round, and I just peel this back, and I have a sheet in here that I put over top of me. This is a cotton sheet from Born Outdoors, different company. Oh, by the way, this is made by, so this one is made by Zenbivy. I've done a whole video on this sleep system, which I'll put up in the corner for you guys to check out if you want. This is awesome. I am in love with this sleep setup. And if it gets too warm, you can kind of regulate your temperature, peel it back. I've got the cotton sheet from Born Outdoors on the inside. I just open this up and I can sleep in it. Now, the thing with my sleep system is that it is not a sleeping bag. This is a quilt and sheet that I have attached to my Mondo King XL Thermarest, which is an inflatable hybrid mattress underneath. So that you want to have a really good R rating on your mattress. So this is going to help keep you warm from underneath. Then we attach the bottom sheet from Zenbivy, which has a hood that is also made out of down. So rather than strangling yourself in a sleeping bag, when you go to bed, you can put the down hood over your head, and then you put the quilt over top of you, and you don't have to be locked up in a mummy bag all night. And if it's really cold, you attach these little hooks to the side of the sheet. They hook on like this, these little guys right here, and that'll keep this from falling off of you in the night. And you've got enough to kind of wrap yourself around. You wrap it around your arms, and you stay nice and warm in there. You've got the hood over your head, and then it also has down the, you can either close or leave the foot box open. So the bottom is like a small bit of the end of a mummy bag, but it's fairly open and loose, so your feet aren't getting all tied up in there, but you can actually clip this closed right here and create a bit longer of a box to keep any drafts out. And I tell you, this sleeping bag is extremely warm. I think it's rated for minus, I want to say 10 degrees Fahrenheit, which is, I think, minus 20 degrees Celsius. I'll have to put the numbers up here on the screen. But I've been in minus 10 in this Celsius, and it's super warm. It actually is crazy how warm the sleeping bag is. But I like to go one step further in the winter, and I need to dig this out. So in the winter, I take things a little bit further. I don't mess around. I want to be comfortably warm, and I can bring the gear because we're overlanders. We bring lots of gear with us camping. And so I add to my sleep setup this. And no, this is not a stylish Canadian tuxedo blanket. This is a heating pad that runs off of USB. And I put this between my sheet layer and the air mattress in my sleep setup. And you plug this into a USB power brick or power block, or an EcoFlow or something like that. And it has different heating zones. It has one in your chest, your legs, and your feet. The feet one is awesome because your feet get a little bit cold. It helps you recover the heat quite easily. And this is not like a heating pad that you would have that runs off a wall socket. It's not super warm, but it radiates a little bit of warmth out from it. But when that warmth is inside of a down sleeping bag, it makes a massive difference. Even in the coldest of cold nights, I'm too warm. But being too warm is great because that allows you to make some other changes to how your tent is set up to deal with condensation. Now, in my experience, unless you have a diesel heater running in your tent, dealing with condensation in humid climates, humid winter climates like we have in Canada, especially out here on the coast, is very challenging. So there's a couple of things that I do to try to combat condensation. Now, I don't run a diesel heater. I am on the fence. I think if you can have a setup that works for you, either you're okay with the time that it takes to set up, or you can set up so it's super easy to use. Diesel heaters are really good, and you can kind of negate some of this gear. But I don't bring a diesel heater. What I do is I open a lot of my windows in my tent, and the alley cab that I have has awnings over 2 of the entrances, so I can keep those windows open halfway even in the pouring rain. This brings in lots of air, but that air is cold. So that means I need to have my sleep set up a little bit better, a little bit warmer. And that's why I don't mind being too warm. So now I can bring in fresh air to the tent. That helps cut down on the condensation of my warm breath hitting the cold walls in the tent and then forming condensation all on the sides. The other thing I have in there is a USB fan. I run a little fan just to help keep the air moving and circulated, but it does make it feel a little bit colder in my tent. So once again, it's nice to have a good sleep setup. 2 things that really suck about not having a diesel heater in the winter is getting into your tent and getting ready for bed. It's super cold, and getting up in the morning, getting dressed, super cold. So I do a couple of things. See this here in my hand, this is a power bar. Now, I think that portable power stations are an essential with overlanding camping setups, especially in the winter. They give you lots of versatility for running heat and doing things. I keep a power station in my Jeep, and I run like a big long cord power bar. It's probably not the safest thing ever, so with caution, I put this in the tent. And now I've got 110 and USB, not this specific one, a different one. It has USB on it, so I can plug in my heating pad, and I can plug in this. Now, this is the heater I've been using. I'm looking for a better one. This one runs at 400 and 800 watts, so it does chew through my portable power station quite quickly. What I'd use this for, though, is when I'm coming to bed, I fire this up, and it turns my tent into a sauna. This thing will heat my tent up in just a couple of minutes. So even though it's high drain, I don't have to use it for a long period of time. I get in my tent, I get undressed, my bed is warm, I get in my bed, I'm good. Then in the morning, I get up, well, when I'm about to get up, I fire this up for 2 or 3 minutes, make my way out of my sleeping bag, and my tent is nice and warm. I can get all of that gear on that we talked about earlier in the video, get warmed up, and then I can crawl out of my bed. This does help with condensation, and I would like to try to run a heater all night, but you need a lot of battery capacity to do that. I'm up to 4,000 watt hours of battery, so in theory, I could run this at 800 watts for, what, 5 hours? But at 400 watts, it would keep the tent very warm for 8 hours straight. But I think there's a better way to do it that's a little more power efficient. So I'm looking for a heater that is about 400 watts, but has a thermostat that I can set to maybe like 10 degrees Celsius. So that if it says it drops down, it can kick on, warm it up a little bit throughout the night, repeat, 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 and be more power efficient. Because once you heat your tent up, it's good for 15 or 20 minutes. It takes a while for that heat to dissipate out and get cold again. So I'm hoping maybe I can find one that runs at 400 watts and alternates on and off all night, and maybe use half the power throughout the night. That is how I keep the tent warm when I need it to be warm, how I stay warm when I'm sleeping, and how I try to manage condensation. Because I've tried several different rooftop tents and ground tents, and they all seem to get condensation. It's just where we are. It's cold weather, warm breath, they hit the edges of the tent. There's lots of humidity in the air. You get condensation. Now there's one very, very important item that I'm going to tell you guys all to bring. No matter what setup you're doing, no matter what you have in your rig, if you're going camping any time in the year, if you're going off-roading any time in the year, you need to bring one of these. This is a full wool blanket. And if you live anywhere where there's colder weather, you should have one of these in your car, to be honest. This is a military wool blanket. I think it's about 80 or 90 bucks Canadian on Amazon. This is so useful. If you are cold around the campfire, you can put this on. It is fire resistant. It's made out of wool. If it gets wet, it's still going to be warm. We talked about that earlier. It folds up into a fairly small square. If it's really cold, you can bring this in your tent with you for an additional amount of warmth. It is a bit heavy. It's heavy in weight, especially compared to down, but it's extremely, extremely warm. And if something happens to your sleep gear, it gets wet, it gets damaged, you've got an emergency blanket. This, if you're going out in cold weather, have a wool blanket in your vehicle. I even use this other time, it's this. I'll even use this around the campfire sometimes. And you know, if it's super cold, you can just kind of hunker down like this. And it comes down to my knees, and I'm 6'2". Probably making a bunch of noise with my mic. But anyways, bring a wool blanket with you guys. Super important in emergencies. If you're stuck somewhere, it takes you a while to get out, you've got something that's gonna keep you warm that you can put over you in your driver's seat. Very, very important. I've put as many links as I can down in the description below for all the products in this video. They help me out a ton. If you're making purchases, thinking of making purchases, it helps fund making content on the channel. I appreciate it a ton. And don't miss the future videos coming out that I talked about in today's video as well. The Demonator's heading down to the sand dunes. So we're gonna be doing some off-roading and some camping. Hit subscribe, leave a like, and if you have any questions, leave them down below. I'll do my best to answer them. My name's Casey. Have a great week, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.